right, welcome to Talkin' Investing. I'm Tom, and as always, this is not financial advice. Today, we're talking about Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners. We got a bunch to go through. I want to go through what happened with Bitcoin and Bitcoin miners last week. We're going to go year to date. We are now through 8 months of the year. I also want to talk about 3 Bitcoin miners that put out an operational update or a press release last week. That's Bitfarms, IREN Energy, and CIFR. There was also some economic data last week that I want to go through, and some big economic data this week that I want to talk about, all of which I think will affect Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners. So a lot to go through. If you're new to this channel, we talk about Bitcoin and the miners all the time. So if that's content you're interested in, or if you've been here all along and you have not yet, please consider subscribing to the channel. And of course, do us a big favor and smash the like button. We're going for 300 likes on this video. It really does help the channel out a lot. Okay, let's talk about Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners. The first chart I want to get to is what the Bitcoin miners did last week. And I will tell you, it was not a good week. August was not a good month. And when we get to it, you're going to see year to date so far has not been a great year for the Bitcoin miners. We're going to get through all that. Let's start out with what happened last week. Okay, so this is Friday over Friday of last week. Of course, this week is a short trading week. So last week, you're going to see every single Bitcoin miner that we follow, of the 12 that we follow, these are the 12 largest publicly traded Bitcoin miners. They were all in the red. They were all down on the week, ranging anywhere from 2% to 19%. In gold on this chart, you're going to see Bitcoin. That was down 8% on the week from Friday to Friday. Most of the Bitcoin miners actually underperformed Bitcoin. So again, Bitcoin was down 8%, but you're going to see a big grouping down, between 10 and 13%. The largest Bitcoin miners by market cap, Marathon, was down 10%. Cleanspark, which is the second largest by market cap, was down 15%. That had a tough week. And then Riot was down 11%. Core Scientific was down only 2%. Those are the top 4 by market cap. Core Scientific and IREN Energy had the best week. You're going to see Core Scientific has also had the best year to date. So we're going to get to that chart in a minute as well. But all 12 Bitcoin miners in the red, Bitcoin in the red, and not just a little bit. Last week was a rough week, down, mostly over 10%. At the bottom of this list, you're going to see BitDeer down 16% and then HUT down 19%. So no specific reason as far as I can tell on HUT, just a rough week across the board. So another difficult week. It's been a long stretch. Really, the last 6 months have been very, very difficult. So I know a lot of you guys are hanging in there, and it hasn't been easy. So with that, let's take a look at year to date. Okay, so this is Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners year to date. This is through August 30th. So that was the last trading day for equities of the year. So for the Bitcoin miners, this is 8 full months of trading. So if we look at this, you're going to see there's only 3 Bitcoin miners that are up year to date. There were more than that. We were up to 5 or 6 Bitcoin miners, several of them outperforming Bitcoin, but the trend has reversed. The last few months have been rough for the Bitcoin miners. And really, if you look at the year, other than a few outliers, this has been a very tough year. So let's talk about the good news first. Core Scientific up 86% on the year. So that was the best performer on the week. It's the best performer on the year. It is more than double what Bitcoin is. Bitcoin is up 40% on the year as of Friday close. And then the other Bitcoin miner that's outperforming Bitcoin, and again, it's doing more than a double, so that's a 2x to the upside versus Bitcoin, is TeraWulf, up 82%. So these two are leading the way. I will tell you, about 2 months ago, IREN Energy and CleanSpark were first and second place, and really by a mile. So these two have taken big hits. CleanSpark now, for the first week of the year, is actually in the red. CleanSpark is now down 3%. IREN Energy still up 11%. To put this in perspective, through May 10th, CleanSpark was up about 45%, and all the other Bitcoin miners were in the red. So CleanSpark was doing about 50% better than even the next closest Bitcoin miner. So that has reversed. That has had a big pullback, whether you view that as a buying opportunity or if you think this is just a reversion back to the mean and where they belong. Obviously, none of this is financial advice, so please do your own due diligence. As you guys know, I try to just show you as much information as I can, and then it's up to you guys to make buying decisions. Okay, so if we look at the other side of this chart, there are some Bitcoin miners that have had a brutal year. 9 of the 12 Bitcoin miners are in the red. CleanSpark obviously on the brink here, just turned red. But at the bottom of this list, you're going to see Riot. This is one of the largest by market cap, and it was down 51% as of the close on Friday year to date. So that's through 8 full months of the year. So Riot has had an absolutely brutal year, doing much worse than its peers. Although Marathon, which is the largest Bitcoin miner by market cap, is also down 29% year to date. So one of the things that I look at on this chart, and obviously, again, this is for you guys to decide as investors, 8 months through the year, with Bitcoin up 40%, a lot of these Bitcoin miners are in the red or deeply in the red year to date. So, is there a buying opportunity in here somewhere? Obviously, that's for you to decide. September expectations are very low. Let me know if you want a video on the month of September. I've got my thoughts on that. So drop down in the comments if you'd like to hear what I have to say about my thoughts on the month of September. Okay, so there were 3 Bitcoin miners that had some specific news that they put out last week. 2 had press releases, and 1 actually put their yearly earnings out. So let's get to those. Okay, the first one is Bitfarms. Bitfarms announces assumption of control of the Sharon, Pennsylvania site. This is a purchase that they announced several months ago, but they have now taken control of this. And I'm just going to read you a little bit, an excerpt from this. It says, this site represents Bitfarms' first mega site in the US with access to up to 120 megawatts. With this transition, Bitfarms has closed on 110 megawatts, 30 of which are slated to come online by year-end 2024. So 30 megawatts of this are coming online this year. Bitfarms does plan to get to 21 exahash by the end of the year, so this is a part of that plan. And then it goes on to say, Bitfarms has also signed a letter of intent for a lease to an additional 10 megawatts, which will bring total capacity to 120 megawatts in 2025. So Bitfarms also has put out an exahash target of 35 exahash by the end of 2025. So that's a ways out, but this is a part of that. Bitfarms does have a massive amount of news going on. They did have a major acquisition recently. So if you're interested in more on Bitfarms, you can also drop that in the comments below if you would like me to do a deep dive. Again, Bitfarms has a lot going on. Also, IREN put out their annual results. So IREN, which was formerly Iris Energy, they put out the results for the 12 months ended June 30th, 2024. So I'm not going to go through that whole report, but I did want to grab this one page from their investor presentation. IREN has had monumental growth. So I just wanted to go through, you're going to see in December of 2023, this company was at 5.6 exahash. So basically coming into the year 2024, this year, they were at 5.6 exahash. You're going to see as of August, which is over, they're now at 15 exahash. That's almost a triple in the first 8 months of this year. And you're going to see, they say by the end of September, which we're just starting right now, they expect to get to 20 exahash. So in 9 months, they will have gotten from 5.6 exahash to 20 exahash if they can continue and finish just this last part of executing this plan. That's not where the plan ends. You're going to see by the end of the year, they want to be at 30 exahash, and they talk about potentially getting to 50 exahash in 2025. So you'll see rapid growth to 30 exahash over the next 4 months. New 10.5 exahash purchase of S21 XP miners improves efficiency to 15 joules per terahash. So that is the other thing. Their fleet efficiency was up around 30 joules per terahash. Actually, in 2023, the entire global networks was actually less efficient than that. So that actually was not bad at all. But the big Bitcoin miners are doing everything they can to buy these new latest and greatest machines and make their machines more energy efficient. That's a part of the profitability equation. So you can see getting to 15 exahash, they've dropped that down to 19 joules per terahash. It's their goal by the end of the year to be at 15 joules per terahash across their fleet. So that would be the most efficient fleet out of all of the major Bitcoin miners that are publicly traded. A lot of the Bitcoin miners are targeting numbers in this neighborhood. So again, there's a lot more information on IREN. They put out their annual report. They have huge growth plans. There was a massive amount of information in this annual report. So let me know again if you want a deep dive on IREN. I'm not sure how many people are interested in this company. It does seem to be less popular among retail investors than some of the others. So please definitely, if this is something you're interested in, drop in the comments and I will consider doing a deep dive on this one. Lastly, CIFR put out a press release also on August 27th. CIFR Mining announces acquisition of new 300 megawatt data center site in West Texas. So CIFR is accumulating these data center sites. I've highlighted some stuff. I just want to talk about really the bullet points at the top of this. First one, the immediately available 250-acre site includes a newly constructed high to mid voltage substation. So for a lot of these Bitcoin mining companies, this is all about power. We've been talking about this on the channel for a long time. My feeling was there's been a lot of talk about mergers and acquisitions inside of the Bitcoin mining space. And I've been saying really for the last 6 to 8 months that I think all the acquisitions are really going to be focused on power and infrastructure. So here's one right here. So this has a substation. There's approvals for 300 megawatts and the agreements necessary to participate in ERCOT market, which is the Texas grid. So that will allow them potentially to get paid for some curtailment over time. They then go on to say the new site is equally well suited for high performance computing infrastructure and Bitcoin mining. So this is a company that is looking to diversify between Bitcoin mining and high performance computing. There are several of the Bitcoin miners that are taking this path. Lastly, they're going to say the company's aggregate data center portfolio now exceeds 2.5 gigawatts. So a lot of this is not up and running. Some of this won't be up and running for a year or more than a year, but you can see this is a company that's made purchase commitments and acquisitions to get to 2.5 gigawatts, which would make them, one of the top 4 or 5 Bitcoin mining companies just as far as their access to energy. So again, I do think that this time around, it's not as much about buying Bitcoin mining machines as it is about creating and building out infrastructure and having access to power. So CIFR has made some big moves, although I do think it's going to take a year or a year and a half for a lot of this to start paying off. All right, very quickly, last week some data came out and this week some more data is coming out. So I want to go through last week's first. Both of these have everything to do with the Fed meeting, which is on September 18th. So that's just 2.5 weeks from now. Okay, so this is the first one. This came out last week, August 30th. This came out on Friday. Fed's preferred inflation gauge stays on a cooling trend. Okay, so I'll just quickly go through this. The numbers are out. The Bureau of Economic Analysis released the Federal Reserve's preferred gauge of prices. So this is the one that the Fed says they pay the most attention to. So CPE is the one that gets the most attention, in the news coverage and by retail investors. But, the Fed, which is the one that makes the rate cut decisions, this is the one they say they have their eye on the most, although I suspect they look at all of these numbers and, clearly they take an aggregate of data. The Personal Consumption Expenditures, or PCE Price Index. Here's a quick glance at the July numbers. Headline increased 0.2% month over month and 2.5% year over year versus expectations of 0.2. So that was right on expectations month over month. And 2.6 year over year was expectation, so it came in at 2.5. So headline beat expectations. Core inflation 0.2 month over month and 2.6 year over year versus expectations of 0.2 month over month and 2.7 year over year. So both headline and core beat. So this is another good data point to give the Fed cover to lower interest rates. Just to take a quick look, the CME Futures Watch tool is pricing in a 100% chance that there will be a rate cut. The only question now is it going to be a 25 basis point rate cut or a 50 basis point rate cut? And you can see right now it's about 2/3 chance that it'll be a 25 basis point rate cut. But obviously we're going to have to wait until September 18th to see where this lands, which leads me to the fact that there is some data coming out this week that I think will affect this calculation as well. Okay, crucial jobs report kicks off a new month. So the jobs report will be released on this Friday. Now, it was a month ago that this headline came in. U.S. jobs growth down in July. Unemployment rises to 4.3%. That was expected to come in at 4.1%. That was a real shock to the system. If you remember, the market tanked on that Friday and then again really on Monday of the next week. Last month, this was the biggest data point of the month. I don't know that it will be again this month. If we look here, we'll see Morgan Stanley economist team forecast that unemployment will fall to 4.2%, and the U.S. economy added 185,000 jobs in the month of August. Quote, we expect the re-acceleration in payrolls to leave the Fed cutting 25 basis points in September. So Morgan Stanley's predicting a 25 basis point rate cut. We're going to get this data on Friday. I do caution everybody, these numbers get revised big time. So we do know that they just had an 818,000 job revision to this just a few weeks ago. And they also get revised every single month as data comes out. So we'll see. But last month, this did shock the marketplace. Again, I'm not expecting that this month. I just want to give everybody a heads up. This information is coming out this Friday. So that's what's going on with the market overall, and that's what's going on with Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners in specific. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please remember to smash the like button, and if you have not yet, please consider subscribing to the channel. Thanks so much for watching, and we will see you in the next video.